Good evening. In the headlines this Wednesday, the ruling coalition in Italy was in danger of falling over the cruise ship hijacking. Authorities confirmed finding 2 gunshot wounds in the body of Leon Klinghoffer. 2 Americans won the Nobel Prize for Chemistry, and 80,000 auto workers went on strike against Chrysler. We'll have the details in a moment. Robin?
To begin our focus stories tonight, we examine the hijack crisis in Italy with an Italian journalist. Then, is Reagan crisis policy causing more damage? George McGovern and Arno de Borchgrave disagree. Senators Barry Goldwater and Sam Nunn say why they want major reform of the military. Judy Woodruff talks with outgoing HHS Secretary Margaret Heckler. And tonight we introduce a new NewsHour feature, Electronic Cartoons by Ranan Luri.
Funding for the MacNeil Lehrer Newshour is provided by AT&T. Whether it's telephones, information systems, long-distance services, or computers, AT&T. Funding also is provided by this station and other public television stations, and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
There were 2 dramatic developments in the hijacking story today. The Achille Lauro crisis threatened to topple the Italian government, and the body of the slain American passenger, Leon Klinghoffer, arrived in Rome from Syria. One of the major parties in the coalition government of Prime Minister Bettino Craxi withdrew from the government to protest the release of PLO leader Mohammed Abbas. Good night, Jim.
Good night, Robin. We'll see you tomorrow night. I'm Jim Lehrer. Thank you and good night.
Funding for the MacNeil Lehrer Newshour is provided by AT&T. Whether it's telephones, information systems, long-distance services, or computers, AT&T. Funding also is provided by this station and other public television stations, and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Transcript, send $2 to Box 345, New York, New York, 10101.
Tonight on 13. At 8:30, the Tournament of the Tripods, and Will has never been happier. But watch out.
Now you shall see how happy your days.
Birth control is still taboo. The result, our teenage birth rate is 5 times higher than Western European countries, where they're not afraid to teach it like it is. I'm Marty Goldenson. Is American sex education too little, too late? That's the topic next time on Currents.
Tonight at 8:30 here on 13 WNET Newark.
Good evening. These are the top news headlines today. The Italian government fell in a political storm over the Achille Lauro. Italian prosecutors said they know which hijacker killed Leon Klinghoffer. The U.S. economy rebounded moderately in the third quarter, but housing starts have fallen sharply. Details of these and other stories in a moment. Charlene Hunter-Gault is in Washington tonight. Charlene?
Here's tonight's NewsHour rundown. First, a look at why the government is making home mortgages tougher to come by. Then, a report on why California is trying to smarten up its school textbooks. Next, we ask the former Vietnam hero turned politician, Nebraska Governor Bob Kerrey, why he's bowing out. And finally, essayist Roger Rosenblatt offers some thoughts on World War II as seen through the camera of Robert Capa.
Funding for the MacNeil Lehrer NewsHour is provided by AT&T. Whether it's telephones, information systems, long-distance services, or computers, AT&T. Funding also is provided by this station and other public television stations, and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Italian Prime Minister Bettino Craxi resigned today with bitter words for the United States. His five-party coalition government collapsed when the small Republican Party pulled out, criticizing Craxi's handling of the hijacking aftermath. Good night, Charlene.
Good night, Robin. That's our NewsHour for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow night. I'm Charlene Hunter-Gault. Thank you and good night.
Funding for the MacNeil Lehrer NewsHour is provided by AT&T. Whether it's telephones, information systems, long-distance services, or computers, AT&T. Funding also is provided by this station and other public television stations, and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Transcript, send $2 to Box 345, New York, New York, 10101.
Tonight on 13. Starting at 8:30, sex education in America's schools. Is it too little, too late? Currents reports. Then at 9, World War II's propaganda battle. Bill Moyers looks at enemy and allied films. And at 10, Here Come the Brides.
Americans were wild, weird, and all of those are the horrible things that our mothers have told us.
Britain's GI brides and their memories of war. That's tonight on 13.
Drinking and driving is the major cause of highway crashes because people don't know enough about what they drink. They don't know that 12 ounces of beer, 5 ounces of wine, and 1 1/4 ounces of liquor, all typical servings, have the same alcohol content. These facts are so important, they've been made part of the driver's manuals of 24 states so far. These states realize that drivers have to know these facts before they drink and drive.
Saturday on 13. At 9, a backstage murder turns into a rumpole mystery.
What if our client said, I killed him?
At 10, Aliens, Dragons, Monsters, and Me, the fantasy film world of special effects genius Ray Harryhausen. And at 11, it's a family destroyed when fascism invades the garden of the Finzi-Continis. That's Saturday on 13.
Two men, two nations, one challenge. To reach the South Pole, only one would survive.
If we go on, we could lose everything.
Will Scott turn back?
Beating the English is not everything.
The Last Place on Earth. A landmark adventure on Masterpiece Theater.
Sunday night at 9 here on 13 WNET Newark.
Major funding for Currents was provided by a grant from First Fidelity Bank, member FDIC, member First National State Bank Corporation. Additional support provided by the Geraldine R. Dodge Foundation.
Tonight on Currents, mixed messages. Like never before, kids in our society are exposed to sex, having sex. We show them everything but explain almost nothing. An epidemic of teenage pregnancy, many times the rate in other Western countries, shows that when it comes to teaching kids the facts of life, American parents and American schools are failing miserably. Sex education, where we have it at all, offers too little, too late. Good evening. I'm Marty Goldenson. The American attitude towards sex education is well explained by our expression, the birds and the bees. It's all metaphor and no information. I'm Marty Goldenson. Thanks for joining us.
Still ahead tonight on 13, 4 women with very different experiences as GI brides reveal their stories on memories of war 1 hour from now at 10. Right now, stay tuned for a focus on how propaganda films stoked the war machine during the 1940s on a walk through the 20th century with Bill Moyers next.
Major funding for Currents was provided by a grant from First Fidelity Bank, member FDIC, member First National State Bank Corporation. Additional support provided by the Geraldine R. Dodge Foundation. For a transcript of the program, send $3 to Currents, WNET 13, Gateway 1, Newark, New Jersey, 07102. Make checks payable to the Educational Broadcasting Corporation.
This weekend, Film on Film introduces you to the creative force behind some of the most shocking fantasy films ever made. Meet Ray Harryhausen, a pioneer in special effects. The hour also features a candid interview with super director Steven Spielberg. It's a double feature not to miss, Saturday night at 10 o'clock.
Excuse me, lady.
We're getting smart. We checked the energy guide labels on refrigerators and bought the most efficient one. Air conditioners and other appliances have them too. We're going to save money in the long run.
There are all sorts of ways to save energy dollars at home.
Boy, what a deal I got on this baby. It's got everything. AM/FM stereo, power shelves, tinted glass.